Welcome to the Mind Chimp podcast.
Kat, welcome to the podcast. How are we doing?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Good to be here.
Good. That's good to know. So, I guess usually what I tend to do before these podcasts is I ask you two simple questions. So, one, I ask you to come up with a logline what sums up who you are, what you're all about, Kat. So, do you have that?
I do, yes.
Okay, and what is it?
Are you ready for it?
Yes.
Okay, so after her powers lay dormant for years, an opportunity to rekindle them was too good to miss. With her new superpowers on the rise, she seeks out ways to help others stand up too.
Wow. Okay, I like that. Instantly, as soon as you got superpowers in there, it's a
Yeah.
nice geeky tick
That's what
for
I
me.
thought.
Yeah, it's all good. So we'll probably touch upon that in just a sec.
Sure.
When you was in fact, yeah, let's do it this way. When you was in school,
Mm-hmm.
and you had that conversation with your teacher, and your teacher would ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? What was what would it be? What you said to the teacher?
So I remember having a conversation with a careers teacher, and she said that, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know. What can I do with these skills I've got? She's like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, I don't know. I don't know what's out there in the world. What can I do with these things? And that's the loop that we went round. So I never actually had an answer.
Ah, okay. That's interesting. So I think a lot of people struggle with this in school. I personally never knew what I wanted to do when I was in school. Well, the only thing I knew I wanted to do in school was get out of school, to be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't know what you want to do. So before we even get into that, here's what I want you to do. I want you to pick for me 4 numbers from 1 to 100.
Okay.
So go for it. Read them out to me. Any numbers you like.
27.
Okay.
2.
Yeah.
54.
54.
89.
89. Ace. We will come back to these later on, Kat, along with kind of what you want to do when you grow up.
Okay.
So, Kat, I know you personally. I know you from the Personal Learning Network, which we created. And yeah, we spoke back and forth quite a bit. But for the listeners who don't know who you are, maybe give us a brief of who you are, what it is you do, and kind of who is Kat?
Okay. So I guess let me start with who I am then. I had a conversation with someone recently about living an interesting life, and I think that is probably what I try to do. So I have lots of different hobbies, from quite active exercise things to sitting at home knitting in front of Netflix. But quite varied, and I like to try different things out. So if someone asks me to do something different, quite often say yes. I think some of those hobbies also kind of link to what I do. So going back to kind of my superpowers, I guess, I talk about them as being creative and logical. So I think they're quite an unusual mix that I use in my day-to-day work. So kind of I'm really good at planning things, and then using my creativity to solve problems in an interesting way. And that's what I do in terms of team development programs, and also kind of using some of those skills back from school of art, where I create sketchographics, which are like hand-drawn infographics.
Okay. So
does that answer your question?
It does, and I have got right in front of me sketchographics. Ask about these. So, as soon as you brought it up, let's do that. So, where did this idea come from for these sketchographics? In fact, let's talk to the people who actually don't know what they are. So, Go for it.
So, it all came from a conference I went to year before last. I went to the OD Network Europe conference, and they had one of those people doing that massive drawing on the wall that summarises the whole event. That's, like meters and meters long, and they're capturing it all in pictures. And I was just kind of awed by it. And me and a friend there got talking to the guy who was doing it, and he said, actually, you can do mini versions of them. So you can do just a summary of a talk, and recommended a book to kind of get started. So I got the book. I read it within like really short space of time, because it was just like a proper page turner, and it was written in the style of words and pictures, so it was really easy to get through. And then I just started practicing doing things that kind of staff briefings or meetings or just watching YouTube videos and sketching them. So it's essentially a way to turn, rather than having like just a load of words on a page, turn some of it into pictures, whether that's metaphors or just something that comes to mind of what that kind of phrase or what people are saying means to you, I guess. Okay. So I was kind of just practicing and sharing stuff online and stuff. And then my friend from the conference contacted me and said, would you do me one of these drawings for an event? So she had been running a change program for 5 years. She wanted to celebrate the fact that it had been running for 5 years and what they'd achieved, and would really wanted like a big visual to show it in a different way. So I thought, why not? It sounds interesting. And that was the first one I did. So that involved kind of getting some information from her, but a lot of it was, she was very busy. So she sent me spreadsheets of data and kind of feedback information, the kind of material they sent out for the program. And I took out what I thought the key messages were and turned them into a visual for her. And it was kind of just a one-off whilst I was in my previous job. And then I kind of thought, well, maybe there's something in this. So I offered it out on LinkedIn. I did a kind of giveaway, got people to apply essentially, saying what they'd like one for, how they'd use it. And it became really clear that they were versatile. They could be used for so many different things in so many different ways, and that there was a real need for something different. Okay. And then it's just kind of spiraled from there into now an actual product that I offer.
So the book recommendation, can you remember what the name of the book was?
It was the Sketch Note Handbook.
Okay. So, I mean, I think it's really interesting that, you know, you mentioned that one of your superpowers is creativity and logic, and I can kind of see that in your sketchographics. Mm-hmm. But I think, you know, there's an element of you are creative and you are generally quite a good drawer and kind of, you know, defining what it is, what needs to be on that paper. So in that school and stuff like that, was that kind of was that big to you?
Yeah, it was one of them. So art, maths and music were my three kind of big topic areas, I guess. That's what I did at A level as well. So which is quite a weird mix, but it does go back to my kind of creative and logic fix.
Yeah, it does.
And then I ended up doing a degree in 3D design, which obviously involved some drawing as well, but very different to what I draw now. Yeah. The stuff I draw now is almost more reminiscent of kind of infant and junior school than it is of drawing a chair.
So the ones which I've seen, and you've been savvy to kind of give me a little bit of a VIP tour of some of the stuff what you've been working on. I think they're absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
And I think there's actually quite a lot to go to the simple fact of your message is really clear, and you know, I know it sounds like everyone's all about progression, and you know what's the next best thing. Well, actually, what you've done, you've kind of come backwards a bit, like you mentioned, and I think one of the nicest things with your sketch graphics is it's the simplicity of it. I think that's a real good. It's something what you can look at and take from it really quickly.
Yeah, it kind of, to me, it's going back to, like, you know, when like young children get a picture book, and it literally starts with just pictures, and then they progress on to there's pictures and there's maybe a word, and then they go on to like there's a more detailed picture and there's a few more words. Yeah. It's kind of linking back to that childhood, like it just made it easy. They could open a book, look at a picture and be like, yeah, I get what's going on. And I think we lose that as we get older.
Yeah, massively. I think we it's really tricky. I can talk about the school system all day long, but I think in school, you know, you've got these really cool, creative kids, in there, and they know how to express themselves in the most creative and unique ways. And what happens is, for me anyway, the school system slowly but surely drains that and puts them into a more rigid box more than anything. And I think as we get older in adults, you tend to see that more and more. I've had numerous conversations where throughout school they was really creative, and now in adult life they don't see themselves as being a creative person. It's a little bit.
It's a shame.
It's a shame. Yeah, shame is a good way to kind of rephrase that. So you do these sketchographics, and I love that they're more simpler than kind of a infographic, and actually a lot more visually appealing. So this is part of, I guess, your business, which is Imaginative. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
It is. So this is part of your business, and we're going to talk about that later on down the line.
Mm-hmm.
But the sketch graphics, what you do, is that part of like not a course, but like a resource, what you offer out to businesses, or is it a case of this is part of a bigger package, or how does that work?
So at the moment, it's almost like a service, I suppose. A cross between a service and a product. It's quite hard to define. But I have kind of different package levels. So it could range from someone just gives me some bullet points and I turn it into a sketchographic, or it could go up to, like I was talking about before, in terms of you don't have time to think about it, give me a load of information and I pull out the key points. But what I found the majority of people need is they have information and ideas in their head and they need someone to like draw it out. That's a slight play on words there, which I didn't mean, but I might use that. But they need someone to almost like coach that information out of their head that's been swimming around and then kind of condense it into something else. And I think like that's been really useful for people. I know what it's like when you've got stuff in your own head and you're kind of stuck and it's not going anywhere and you just need someone else to be kind of questioning.
Yeah, it's kind of going back into that circle which you mentioned, what you had with your careers officer.
Yeah.
It's exactly that loop and breaking that loop. Good play of words. I'm glad I was here to witness that. So hopefully I'll see that in the future. So,
yeah, I must write that down actually.
Yeah, definitely. I'll send you this over anyway. You can just crop it out and write it down when you've got a bit more time. So before we even get into where you are now with Imaginative, take me right back. So in fact, why don't you tell us about the 6 Summit hike? So for people who don't know, maybe walk us through that story and kind of what that's all about.
Oh, cracking play on words there, Danny. So the Shropshire 6 Summits is a 35-mile hike over the course of 3 days. When I was younger, my parents used to take us walking / hiking. To me, it feels like it was like every weekend, but when I've quizzed them on that more recently, they say it was only once a month or once every few months. As a child, it just feels like all the bloody time. But it's obviously given me like a love of walking and being outside. So I was back in the day, I was in Brownies. I moved on to Guides. Guides was just not for me. It was all plaiting hair and kind of making pancakes on the top of tin cans. Okay. So I left there, and I was really lucky in that we had a mixed scout troop. It was one of the first in the country. To give you a little glimpse into my age, I guess. And we took part in the Shropshire 6 Summits, which was a scout organised walk, as I say, over the course of 3 days. And we had a team of 4. We had 1 boy and we had 3 girls. And we were the first girls ever to do that as part of the Scouts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was really funny because it was, I think, because we were a mixed scout troop and that was really unusual, a lot of everyone else there was, male, and they were like, what are the girls doing here? This is weird. It was just really amusing.
It's bizarre that you still, I think it's good that the Scouts were kind of future focused in that respect, and it was, anyone can be part of Scouts. It's not stuck to one gender. And I think it's bizarre that the Scouts caught on to that really quick, yet we still see that sort of behaviour in corporate life at the moment. And it's big, it's all over the news and stuff, gender pay and all that stuff. So you joined the Scouts, and you stopped plaiting hair and kind of start doing these hikes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I guess the reason why I'm doing these podcasts is just to find out a little bit more about the person behind. And I use the term learning really loosely because I know people, I don't really assign to that label. I kind of never have as learning expert. So, but I guess before we even get there, tell me something quirky about you. Tell me something what is personal to you. Maybe it's something what you do outside, maybe some activity, I don't know. Tell me something a little bit quirky about you, what people probably don't know.
So the interesting fact I usually use is that I go to handstand lessons.
All right, okay. And why?
A bit different. Why?
Yeah.
I guess so. I kind of talked about the fact that I quite like exercise, which I never thought I'd say that, to be honest. It's been a fairly recent kind of last 3 years that I've actually started to quite enjoy it. But I think it's because I found exercise that I've enjoyed. So things like handstands, actually, it is fun. And it links back to this whole theme that fits around me, I think, of like going back to being a kid and having fun and enjoying yourself. And I think that handstands for me just kind of brings that enjoyment back and having a bit of a laugh and getting together with people and doing something different.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I think you miss out one of the massive things, and maybe because you just kind of don't want to stroke your ego here, look at, but it's absolutely solid. It's not like it's an easy walk in a park handstand, especially, when you're in school and you see these kids who are doing handstands, like it's, the next easiest thing in the world. On my days, handstands as an adult, absolute nightmare.
Yeah, and it's not, like you say, it's not like in a school playground where you kick your legs up and then they kick back down again. It's lifting. The ultimate goal is to be able to lift up and hold a handstand as if I'm standing on my feet, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know how still I could stand, actually. I might have to try that with my hands in the air and see, like, actually, how easy is it on your feet? But transfer that onto your hands and kind of, yeah.
It's a good shout. Okay, so handstand classes.
Yeah.
So I guess how long have you been doing these handstand classes for?
Probably about 2.5 years.
All right. Okay. On and off kind of deal, or has it been very,
So it was monthly to start with. Then I had a stress fracture in my foot last year, so wasn't able to exercise for the most of last year, so I had to have a break, and then have recently gone back to it as well.
Oh wow! So stress fracture in the foot.
Yeah.
How did this happen? Is this just been kind of something that's been happening over time, or was it a unique thing what you could see where it potentially started? How did you get that?
I think so stress fractures are usually caused by repetitive exercise.
Okay.
So I think just a mixture of the types of activities I was doing kind of built up to a point where actually my foot was hurting. And it was a really weird thing in that it's not like another injury where you're like, oh my God, this hurts so much, I can't do anything. I'd be fine and I could walk around, and then I'd do something or hold my foot funny. I'd be like, that really hurts. This isn't okay. And that made it really hard. I think that's, people talk about the whole thing between kind of physical health and mental health, and that physical health, there's something there, you can see what's wrong, you can fix it. Mental health, it's hard to see. I think a stress fracture is almost like you can't really see it or feel it, and it's really hard to explain, and it's really hard to fix.
Yeah, that's actually really insightful. Actually, yeah, I guess it's not like a broken arm, like you say, where you've got a cast on. In 6 weeks that cast going to be off and everything's going to be mended. It's kind of like it's slowly but surely, I guess, with that one.
Yeah, and it's 11 months ago when I think I first recognised there was something not okay with my foot. And I think I've only just got to a point where it feels like it might almost be better.
This is good news. Touch wood.
It is great news because I can start exercising properly again.
This is good. This is good. So, with so we know where Imagine is right now. Imagine is right now.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get here? So I had a look over LinkedIn and stuff like that, trying to track, your progress or your career. But yeah, if you could just maybe walk us through that, if you could, that'd be ace.
Yeah, sure. It's a interesting one, I think. It goes back to what we were saying about, like, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So at uni, I got a part-time job or a full-time job kind of during one of the holidays, buying and selling forklift truck parts. So that is kind of, I'd had lots of jobs before that in all sorts of different things. You kind of worked in Blockbuster Video, may they rest in peace.
Okay.
And a deli, babysitting, stuff like that. But my first proper job, I guess, after uni was buying and selling forklift truck parts.
Right. Okay.
Which is just completely random. But it was really good. It was a small team. I learnt a lot. I learnt how to negotiate, how to sell stuff. I kind of worked a bit on their IT system as well, in terms of they were keeping everything on spreadsheets. And I was like, surely there is a better way. Surely the system can do this. When I left there, I worked in a council for a bit. I worked on a children's play scheme. I then worked at a company, DEFRA, kind of working on farmers' payment scheme. Again, like, these all just sound completely random, but it was me working my way through, trying things. Because I didn't know where I wanted to get to, I had to try things to rule them out along the way, I guess. I worked in a debt counselling agency. I then worked in a IT company that supported the police. And that was kind of, I would say, a project support officer role. So again, that really suited me in that it was really planned and logical side of things. And there was a bit of room for creativity in terms of how we can do things better. So I'm really keen on improving processes as well. Right. After that, I ended up relocating to Leicester and got a temporary job, and it was going to be temporary, working in the chief executive's office of an NHS organisation. So I was the chief executive's assistant. Imagine how amazing that was not. And then kind of moved on to I got asked to be a executive assistant for a director who needed managing. So it was kind of managing upwards, and they recognised that I was, like I said, I have that kind of logical and planned and organised. I can keep someone on track. So I went and did that. Again, I was kind of saying, oh, this will just be temporary. I'm not sticking around. Turned into a permanent job. And then I moved with that director to set up a new company within the NHS. And I was the corporate business manager there. So essentially, there was me and two directors. So my role there was do everything that the directors don't do, which, as you can imagine, is quite a lot. So I was kind of doing HR, IT, OD, that I didn't even know it was OD at the time. Organisational development, that is, for not overdosing. Project management. So, like, a massive skill set. That kind of was there for 4 years, and then that organisation merged into another NHS organisation where I was really lucky and offered the choice of where my role went, because it didn't really exist. It was kind of like, where would you like to go? So I chose to go into the service redesign team because I was really keen on that kind of re-engineering processes to make them work better. I got into that team and the manager said, I've got someone to do that, but I've not got anyone to do organisational development. Will you just do that for a bit? And I was like, oh, all right then. And then having done that for a while, I was like, oh, this is where I was supposed to be all along. So I guess to me, I wrote a blog actually about maybe a year into my OD role, looking back at my jobs and how actually, whilst I didn't know where I was headed, I've taken things from all of those roles that have got me where I am and that actually contribute to that role I had in OD. I was there for 4 years and then left at the end of August last year, and that is where Imaginist's journey started.
Okay. So I completely agree that when you look back on, say, your career, and even though these little jobs where you kind of don't think they're not, when you say they're not for you, there's from when I can remember back in my day at forensics, there was this thing where when contact A comes into contact B, they exchange information. So when a car hits another car, a bit of paint goes onto that car, a bit of paint goes onto this car. And I like that take on as a career. I've done some really bad jobs in the past and I've learned something from them always. And even though in the moment, I don't really know how this is shaping what I'm doing, I think you just have to take a leap of faith and just assume that where you're going is the right place to go. And for you, it definitely sounds like it is. Just listening, and when I was looking over your LinkedIn, in a non-stalker kind of way, I seen elements of creativity throughout. So one of the things which I seen in there was a twib. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah.
And I seen creative flair there, and obviously I know about your sketchographics and stuff. So there's even just me looking at it and not knowing your life, I could see the creative bits here and there, kind of, trying to sneak out. And then Imagine If come about. So what made you take that big leap of faith? Because it is a big leap of faith, and it's scary. And I hear people say it's real. It's the scariest thing you do, but it's the best thing you'll do. So what was there a pinnacle moment? What made you go, I'm gonna do it now. This is it.
So I guess I'd reached a point where I just realised I needed to work in a different company. So I knew that OD was where I wanted to be, or learning and development elements of it. But I'd only done it in one organisation in the NHS, and that is an interesting organisation to work in, which is one way to describe it, I guess. And I just kind of thought, I need to do this somewhere else and experience it somewhere else and be able to do things differently. So I actually started job hunting, and I got offered a job. And on the surface, it sounded like fine, but my gut said not to take it, and I listened to my gut and didn't take it. And then actually, I think I was lucky in some ways, in that the chance for voluntary redundancy came up. So I thought, this is my chance. If I want to, and I think by that point as well, I'd realised that maybe, having been offered that job, I think I realised just doing it in one organisation wasn't going to give me the variety I needed, and I actually wanted to work across lots of different places. So that's where the idea of maybe working for myself came up, when that teamed with voluntary redundancy and actually being able to have a slight comfort blanket, because I know these things don't just, businesses don't just magic up overnight, do they? I kind of thought, let's do this. So I did.
Okay. And then the rest is history, I guess. So
yeah, very short history.
So the next bit, which I'm going to step up now, probably just change gears a little bit, is there's going to be some random quickfire questions.
Okay.
I say quickfire questions, but I really use that term really lightly because I guarantee you these will not be quickfire round questions. So yeah, don't rush them. And if there's anything you want to elaborate and build on, go for it. So I think book of choice. So I know for a fact you're quite a keen reader.
Yep.
In the group and stuff, you're sharing books and what you've been reading recently. But if I was asked you to kind of recommend a book to three people, let's just say, two close family members and a really close friend, what's one book you would recommend to them?
Depends what stage of their life and what they've got going on in their heads at the moment.
Okay. Well, let's flip the question on its head.
Yeah.
What's the one book which has changed or highly impacted your life? And it's hard again because it obviously depends on where you are in your life. But what's a one book what jumps out to you?
So there's one book. There's a book that changed my life, but it's not a book I'd recommend to people. And I will tell you why. So the book that changed my life was Lord of the Rings, the trilogy. And it changed my life because it started me reading again. So I hadn't read for years before that. And then I read that and I was like, actually, I can't put books down now. So for me, that's the book that changed my life. But the book that I would recommend to people I think is really interesting.
Okay.
Ooh, it's hard to say one book. Like I say, it's completely in context. And I've recommended lots of different books to lots of different people for different reasons.
Okay. So, I'm not one to let you get out of this one, Kat, unfortunately.
That's fine. You keep drilling me.
What's the one book you would recommend for someone who's trying to release their inner creative? Or yeah, let's go with that one. It can't be the sketchbook what you mentioned.
Okay. No. So my friend bought me a book for my birthday a couple of years ago called The Crossroads of Should and Must.
Okay.
And actually, that was a great book in terms of thinking about your purpose in a way that it was creative. Like the book is almost like a scrapbook. So it's got loads of different text and textures on the, not to feel, but that you can see. Also thought provoking. And it talks about that actually sometimes your purpose isn't what your job is. It's something you do outside of your job. And I think that makes it slightly more manageable rather than people feeling like they're striving for a purpose that they'll never achieve.
Okay.
So I think that is a good book, which I'm going to go and reread, actually.
I love it. So, next question.
Yep.
What is your most important or most impactful positive, negative? So what's one thing in your life which you deemed as a negative in the moment, but actually has ended up being the biggest positive and the biggest impact you could have?
The biggest impact on me?
Yeah.
So I think that was probably the end of my last relationship.
Okay.
In that we had been together for 10 years. And I think you change a lot over 10 years. And actually, it wasn't until that finished that I then actually became who I am now. So it allowed me to explore. And like I say, I'll say yes to anything now, whereas in the past I would have said no. So I think that's the thing that's had the biggest impact, and also probably made me braver. So I've been on holiday on my own, which people always say is brave. I don't really see it as brave. But maybe it's also given me the bravery to leave a permanent job and set up a company from scratch as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think just listening to these conversations, what we've had so far, bravery is one of the things which I'd put to you right now. Setting up your own business, leaving your old business, when redundancy happened and stuff like that, and not taking that job and listening to your gut. I think actually you scream bravery quite a lot. But there's a quote which I it's one of my nearest and dearest quotes, and I think you pulled it out the word change. And without change, we would never have butterflies. And I think actually that's a really interesting thing. You do change over time, and your mindset changes on different things and different parts of your life. And yeah, it's good. Bravery's a good thing, definitely.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
Here's another question for you. 2 hours. You can only do 2 hours of your whole working life, okay? And you'd have to repeat these 2 hours over and over and over again. What would be the 2 hours of your working life you would do?
They would be the 2 hours of an insights discovery workshop that I ran with a team that I thought would be hard work, but actually really bought into it. People who never speak spoke, and people gave feedback as they left that it was the best training they'd ever done, and they hadn't expected it to be. So I would absolutely be happy to repeat that over and over.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So when you ran that workshop, was that with Imaginive? Is that literally one of the for your business, yeah, or was that kind of?
No, that was in my previous role.
Okay.
So it was working with people I would say I knew them in part. But I guess it also gave me a glimpse into what they were really like as well. It was really interesting that my perceptions of how the session would run were changed as well. So it challenged my own thinking, I guess.
Okay. So throughout your career, I mean, I use these terms quite lightly, coaching and mentoring. But have you ever had kind of a real good mentoring or coaching relationship with someone throughout your career? Is anyone who's kind of jumped out?
I did have some coaching with a lady. Literally, I met her on a workshop at an NHS event. We were doing like a co-coaching exercise, and we came out the other side of it. And she said, "I think you could benefit from some coaching, and I'm currently doing a course in it, and I need people to coach. Would you be interested?" So I was like, "Yeah, definitely." And she really helped me. And actually, we were distance apart, so we did telephone coaching, which again, like as you'll know, it's different because you can't pick up on people's cues. But it was good in that it let me. I didn't have to hide my facial expressions for one thing. But she was really good in helping me work through a really tough time at work.
Okay, and I guess that relationship, is there anything what you picked up from that relationship and you kind of took moving forward?
I think it's hard to pinpoint, but I must have done subconsciously, because yesterday I was talking to someone who said that I should be a coach, which is not something I'd ever thought of doing. But it must be that something has obviously stuck that's led me to be able to ask good questions, which I guess links to what we were talking about earlier about kind of those sketchographics when I talk to people and ask them questions to draw information out. So I think that's probably how it's manifested.
Okay, superb. So some of these questions are quite how can I put this, deep, and you can take them to whatever you want to take them, wherever you want to take them. But what's happiness to Kat?
I think it's a combination of contentment and excitement.
Okay. Excitement. So, I mean, walking upside down on your head, that's excitement, right? That's craziness.
Yeah.
So contentment, is that contentment in where you are with the business and kind of getting your path and understanding your path moving forward? Is that kind of where we're going with that?
I think it's a whole combination of things. So I think it's in some ways a calmness of mind. So I need to almost have a plan and know it's moving along. I need to be feeling calm about it so that I'm not panicked or stressed, and actually can have that work-life balance as well. So actually I can just sit and relax and feel that things are okay. And then there's that element of kind of spending time with friends and family, I guess, makes me feel content.
Okay, that's good. So, again, getting to know a little bit more about who Kat is and what Kat's all about. What's the one unusual thing you do? So, like for instance,
outside of handstands.
yeah, outside of handstands. So, for instance, like it could be the weirdest, quirkiest thing. So, I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and they were saying how they talk to the sat nav when driving. I'm like,
Right.
okay, that's fine, fine. One of them mentioned that they have this thing about locking the back door, so he'll lock it like 3 or 4 times when he's doing, I don't know, getting ready to leave the house, and he gets to a point now where he has to shout, "I've locked the back door." So what do you have any unusual random habits or traits?
Probably do. The one that springs to mind when you started rolling those off is I've got some hair straighteners that when they heat up, they make a beep noise that goes something like da-da.
Okay.
And every time I hear it, it sounds to me like the first two notes to the Grange Hill like end theme tune. So whenever it goes da-da, I go da-da.
That is absolute show genius. I know them hair straighteners, and now that means from now on I'm not going to be able to not hear that.
Excellent. I'm glad.
So we're in an environment where, you know, if you look out on LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram, and we all have these personal brands and these personal personas. And one of the things was, how do people, you know, I'm big on being able to just be you. You know, when I talk, I can switch on my corporate head and have to present properly. But actually, I like being me. I like being a little bit lazy when I speak, and I like just being authentic. And what you see is what you get. But how do you stay authentic, Kat?
I think sometimes it takes a bit of checking. So, because I agree, I think there's something about truth and honesty. Like they're really important to me. So that kind of being authentic links with that. But having worked in a corporate environment for so long, it's so easy just to get pulled into, especially when you're writing, I think, on social media, it's really easy just to get into kind of just corporate speak. And I guess I just have to check myself and read things and think, actually, how's that coming across? Is that coming across as me, or is that coming across as me in my old job when I was writing something professional? So I guess, and professional is not the right word to use, I guess. But you know what I mean? It's kind of like, are you writing a line for a report, or are you writing a line of interest?
Okay. So throughout, I'm assuming you'll have had this throughout your career, where stress has kicked in, or maybe you've lost focus a little bit, and you know there's been too much data overload and stuff like that. I know I feel that quite a bit every now and again. What is there any techniques or anything you do to kind of bring you back in to the room, or like when you have lost focus or it's just got a bit too much? Is there any techniques you do to rebalance yourself, maybe?
Yes, this happened to me last week, actually.
Okay.
If anyone saw my post on LinkedIn last week, which was about how I basically procrastinated for six hours, I was looking for anything that didn't mean I had to actually do something. And that was because I had data overload going on in my head. So when I get to that point, and I can recognize it from the past as well, I have to basically do a data download. So I have to get everything out of my head onto, whether it's a to-do list or a to-do app, or I've done a brainstorm before, like, or post-it notes. I just have to get it all out so it's captured somewhere other than my head. And part of my procrastination last week, I was watching a talk by David Allen, who is the author of Getting Things Done, which I guess could be a book recommendation if we go back to the earlier question. And he said something that has really stuck with me, which was, our head is for having ideas, not for holding them. I was like, that's why I'm stuck. It's too much in there. So I just have to get it all out and organized, and then I can feel like I'm on top of it again.
Okay.
Slight control freak nature coming out, I guess.
No, I don't think. I think we're in an environment now where everything's always changing, and I like chaotic sometimes, because I think some things can really come from chaotic environments and mentalness. And you hear about it a lot. Oh, we're working in an agile way. No, you're just working mentally. It's literally, you're not doing anything what's agile. But I'm pretty similar to you in that respect. So I have a giant whiteboard in my room in my house, which is craziness. And I remember the last time I had something similar to you, where I had all these thoughts in my head, and it was designing a mentoring program, and it was a kind of understanding how a user engages and the touch points between the mentor, the environment and stuff, and it was just going round and round in my head. And it was at 2:30 in the morning that I had to get up and map out how this thing was going to work, and what would happen, and the touch points, and how people would engage with it. And it's only once I mapped it out that I could actually find myself going back to sleep. And it
was like a release.
Yeah. It's exactly that. It was a case of, I was tossing and turning, like, right, okay. I use Google Keep quite a bit as notes, so I think, right, whatever's on my mind, I'll note it down, and then I'll come back to it tomorrow. But for one reason or another, I just could not shake this idea and this thought and how it was going to work. So yeah, that's kind of my whole dull whiteboard story.
I'd love a whiteboard on my wall. That's one future goal.
Do it. It's the best thing ever. And I kind of use it now for goals for the year as well. So there'll be a section of it which I won't ever rub out, and it'll be my goals for the year, or things I want to look into, or what I want to do. And even when I've done them, I won't ever rub them out. I just put a line through them, so that at the end of the year I can still reflect on the things what I've done.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I think kind of over the past 6 months as well, I guess I've recognised that we're always striving to do something, and once we've done it, we basically just move on. We don't take a lot of time to think, I did that. So actually having it still on your whiteboard with a line through, you can see it's something you've achieved, as opposed to wiped it off and it's like it never happened. Yeah,
completely. And you hear about these things, that new year, new me and stuff like that. But I just think we don't really need to wait for a new year to kind of reset everything. We can do that now, but actually really take stock of stuff what you've done already, to understand that, because if you don't, and you look back in 3 months' time and everything's been rubbed off, it's hard to reflect on what you have achieved. It really is hard. Where I think my whiteboard's been quite good for that, to be honest.
Yeah, I've started a sheet on my wall, which is a kind of, in the middle, it's what I've achieved, and actually as I achieve things that have either been on my goals or other things that have come up, I start adding them so that I can see that grow and can kind of spend time looking at that. Okay. But without having to have it on my whiteboard. It doesn't exist.
Literally, whiteboard, Amazon, it's the future. It cost me like £10. It's the best thing in the world. Okay, random question, just to get you thinking. So if Mickey is a mouse and Donald is a duck, what's Goofy?
I think he's a dog.
Is it? Because Pluto's a dog, right? And
Pluto's definitely a dog. I can't think what Goofy looks like.
Okay. So he drives a car and he wears a hat. So I'll leave that one with you. I'll let that one just bake into your mind. You maybe Google it later on once we've...
I was just thinking, I might have to look him up.
So we know Cat from where you've come from to where you are now. So what does the future Cat look like? So in 10 years' time, what does the future look like for you?
So I want my work-life balance to be mainly life.
Okay.
Which I'm sure is what everyone wants. But I want to have a business that kind of generates income without me being reliant on me, I guess, so that I can spend more of my time doing the things that I love to do.
Okay.
Hopefully some of it in foreign countries where the sun shines.
Yeah.
Or the snow is deep.
Yes, snow is deep.
Either extreme.
So when we talked about in 10 years' time, this is kind of where you want to go.
Yeah.
What's got? I guess if there was an 80-year-old you who you could tap into right now, okay, what's the one bit of advice they would be giving you what you're still struggling to take right now?
You can do anything you set your mind to.
Okay, that's good advice. It's good advice.
It is, I might have to take it.
So, the environment which we all work in, I guess who's the three people who you maybe it's up and comers, maybe it's people who are already settled and kind of have already carved out a path, but who's the three people who you look up to, or you look to for insight maybe?
It depends what kind of insight I need at the time. So I don't know if I can specify people. I have groups of people, I would say. So I have a group of kind of other people who are in a similar position to me, building their own businesses or growing them. So I have a kind of advice/mentor/tester group, I guess. I have friends for those times when it's really hard and you just need to vent or kind of cry on someone's shoulder. And then I have my family who I go to as a kind of different element, some of which is for advice or help or creativity, and some of which is just to belong to something.
Okay, so how do you switch off? So I know we talked about when you lose focus, you kind of what you do is you do like a bit of this data download, but we're in an environment where it's constant data, you're constantly getting pushed. There's notifications on your phone. There's this, there's that, there's calls, there's texts, there's whatever. How do you switch off from it all? Is it a technique or is it something you do to kind of just completely switch off?
So there's probably two things. One is I watch Netflix.
Okay.
So I think having your own business, you have thoughts jumbling around your head all the time. So I have to do something that completely absorbs me. So I will get absorbed in a box set series. And I have to put my phone in a different room so that I don't get distracted by it.
Okay.
And then the other thing I do is I read a part of a fiction book every night when I go to bed. And I think that again, it absorbs my mind into whatever's going on in that book and turns everything else off. And then I just fall asleep.
Okay.
With a kind of clear head.
This is good. So Netflix.
Yeah.
Let's get into the details here. What's the most recent box set you've watched?
Van Helsing season 2.
Okay. So never watched that one. That's definitely going to be going down on my list. So yeah, I'm a big Netflix lover. Again, I use it to be able to just completely switch off. It's like when you go to the movies, right? And you watch a really daft film. You don't just watch it because, oh my god, I need to know this gripping storyline. Sometimes you use it just for that, just
distraction. Almost. Yeah. Absolutely.
So let's take it up again. So let's change the game again. So you can have a big billboard sign.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And on this billboard sign, you can have any single message you want. Okay. What would that message be in order to have maybe it's people who have come from one of your training courses. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's something you can put outside the stadium, a football stadium, and people will see this. And the idea is that this will have a butterfly effect to people moving forward. what would be your one quote, or what would you have on there? Maybe it's not a quote, maybe it's something. What would you just put on there from you? What would it say?
Imagine it, try it, learn from it.
Ooh, I like that. That's good. That's probably one of the best ones, to be honest. It's actually a really good one. So
And that's weirdly the quickest answer to come up with of all your questions.
So I remember when I was kind of putting these questions together, it was a case of I don't want easy questions. I want ones where there's going to be that awkward silence where they've got to think about it, and then I'm kind of not going to give you an easy way out.
Yeah.
And it's really good because I think it helps you think about it. And a couple of messages what I've had after we've done podcasts like this is, oh my days, it was actually, it's good to say certain stuff out loud, but I kind of like the idea that that's just come straight to you from nowhere,
Yeah, me too. And I'm already thinking of drawing that on as kind of like a billboard drawing with that written on it and sticking it on the wall opposite my desk.
Do it. Then take a picture.
I'll send you a picture. Yeah,
100%. So, and we've kind of touched on this, but what's something what you're learning right now, and maybe it's in your personal life, your professional life. What's something what you've learned quite recently, and how did you learn it?
So I think I am. Oh, hard question. It's always hard to pick one thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
I think professionally, I'm currently learning how to update my website.
Okay.
So the kind of technical side of that. I have recently relearnt the getting things done, methodology that I touched on earlier, which was really nice as a kind of refresher. And then outside of work, I'm probably learning to kind of different exercise type things that maybe I haven't tried before.
Okay. Last two questions, and then we'll kind of wrap up. So, what's the free resources you use right now, excluding Google and YouTube and LinkedIn? So maybe it's a resource of a new app, and maybe it's a new app for, I don't know, your personal life, your professional life, or maybe it's a new tool or a new piece of software what you've learned. What's the three biggie ones what you've been using quite recently?
Did you say 3 or 3?
Yeah. See, this is my bad. This is my laziness. So it's 3. Yes, it's the number.
Okay. So I recently purchased Todoist. So that was part of my whole procrastination last week, my relearning of getting things done. I bought Todoist, which is basically a place that I am now capturing everything. So if a thought comes into my head of anything I might possibly ever need to do, it goes in there so that I keep my head clear for ideas.
Okay.
I think a big resource I use are people. That almost sounds really bad, but it's kind of goes back to your personal learning network and the links you make with other people, that actually when you need help or advice or has anyone ever, there's people to ask. Okay. And third resource is probably Netflix.
Okay, that's a good one. It's a good one.
Which is basically YouTube, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's cool. It's
a similar thing.
You bent the rules. It's all good. It's all good. So, where can people find out a little bit more about Kat as a person, but imaginative as well? Where can people find out a little bit more about this and about you?
So, me as a person, probably LinkedIn is the best place. I'm also on Twitter as Kat Hase. But then imagine if I have Instagram, which to me is probably where you'll find out the more creative side, I find Instagram it's a bit more fun. So I would say that's a great place to get to know me. I have Facebook and I have Twitter for that, and a YouTube channel coming soon as well, which will probably be a good thing. And Imagine If's website is due to launch in about a week's time.
Okay, so what I'll do is I will put all the links in the show notes to kind of, where they can reach you and where they can get a hold of you, and Imagine If's website as well. So 2 more questions and we are done, Kat.
Okay.
So question 1, I asked you right at the beginning, what is it you wanted to be when you grow up, when you was in school? Now obviously we continue to grow. That whole fake thing of that's it, once you leave school, that's it, you're done growing. We never really do truly grow up to a point where it stops. So if I was to ask you this question now, what do you want to be when you grow older, Kat? What would you say?
Happy.
Okay, happy. I like that. I asked you right at the beginning a couple of things, pick some numbers, and you picked 27 to 54 and 89. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
These numbers, they tally up to some random items of a list what I put together. So your numbers were, the items which you've got are a bubble bath, some nail clippers, a zip, and a lace. Now here's the thing. You're on a desert island and you find these 4 items. What do you do with them?
So bubble bath, nail clippers, a zip, and some lace.
Yeah.
I would make myself a bikini out of the lace.
Okay.
I would put the bubble bath into the sea so that it can float off and people may see it and think, where's that come from, and come and investigate and rescue me.
Okay.
I would use the nail clippers to cut food and wood to survive. And I would use the zip as a distraction technique when I'm sitting on the beach so that I have something to fiddle with, like a fidget spinner.
Okay, perfect. I love it. Well, Kat, we're done. Literally one of the quickest hours I've had so far. So I guess, thank you for taking the time out. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's really interesting. And I like your thought-provoking questions.
Cheers, Kat. Thanks for that.
Thanks, Danny.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.